Do you need something fun to do with your friends? Escape rooms are an incredible way to spend time with friends, family, and loved ones. And Escapology is the largest and best escape room franchise in the world. They have escape rooms such as Scooby-Doo, Murder on the Orient Express, The Code, and Under Pressure, and another brand new themed room coming this summer. On Tuesdays through May 31st, buy one full price ticket and a second person plays free. Use the code TWOFER, that's TWOFER. Visit Escapology.com for more information. Again, that's Escapology.com. Escapology is located at 82 Macomb Place in Mt Clemens. Escapology, where time is of the essence. Welcome, everybody, to another edition of the GioMoShow, right here on 88.3 FM WXOU, Auburn Hills, Michigan, Oakland University, and all your wonderful station identification features. I am your host of the GioMoShow and sports media director here at WXOU, Giovanni Mosheri, and the GioMoShow is your home for all Oakland sports and beyond on 88.3 FM. Don't forget to follow WXOU on our MAB award-winning social media platforms, including Instagram, Twitter, TikTok included. You can find us on WXOU.org. You can join the WXOU Discord server and do everything you can to keep in touch and keep up to date with your favorite college radio station. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram and Twitter and somewhere on TikTok as well. If you're on YouTube right now watching this, and you can see the social media on the screen below my face, as well as in the description of the video. Or if you're on Spotify, I'll spell it out for you. You can follow me on Twitter at GioMoShow, WXOU. You can follow the GioMoShow itself on Instagram at the GioMo Show. And you can find my personal Instagram through all of that. Anyway, not to bore all of you guys, if you're not with me and you want to see the GioMoShow whenever you want, at any time, if you will, then YouTube and Spotify, as well as Spreaker and all the places you can find your podcast, is where the GioMoShow resides. So there's no way to miss the GioMoShow, and you're always up to date with Oakland sports and beyond. And then finally, you can subscribe to WXOU Sports on YouTube, where you'll find our full game highlights. You can find the final call of the championship game of the Horizon League. WXOU was there. You can find highlights. You can find interviews, post-game recaps. Everything you need from WXOU Sports can be found on such YouTube channels. So just search WXOU Sports on YouTube and hit subscribe. So for today's show, this one is being pre-recorded now because I won't be able to do it live on Monday. I'll be at Lansing for the MAB Student Awards, which is where WXOU was nominated for social media. So I played a part in it. So I'll be going to Lansing to see who ends up with the award and, to mingle and such. So with that, might be a little out of date with some of the things I'll be saying. We'll be cutting in little edits of updates as the games that we don't have all the information on just yet. And we'll piece this one together. Don't worry, we'll get through this for this week of the GioMoShow. But I couldn't miss this week. This was one of the historic weeks in Oakland sports, so we had to absolutely make sure that we covered it. So some of the histories, including the men's basketball, we'll also be talking about baseball and softball as they're starting their Horizon League seasons, both of which against Northern Kentucky and both away at Northern Kentucky. So we will be getting through all of that. But for this segment, and at least if you're watching on YouTube, for me and my wonderful Diamond Hoppers shirt, this segment will be covering basketball because I'll probably be cutting in at a later day with the different shirts for baseball and softball. Oh, I love edited episodes. I love pre-recording episodes, if you guys know me well. They're just so much fun to do, and this is definitely the first take. But moving on now, let's get the show started with men's basketball. And if you guys have been living under a rock, if you guys don't know what happened this past weekend, then let me fill you in. The Golden Grizzlies men's basketball team have done it. They have done it for the first time in history. This has been, without question, in terms of performance and accolades, This has been the best season the Golden Grizzlies have ever had since joining the Horizon League. It's not even, I'm, with all due respect to the other teams, but this is pretty, I feel like this is pretty clear cut. Forgive me if I'm wrong. Correct me down in the comments below on Twitter. I mean, let me know if I'm overstepping here, but I think it's fair to say that this has been one of the greatest Horizon League seasons we've ever seen from the Golden Grizzlies. They won the regular season outright a couple Saturdays ago against Detroit Mercy. So, standing alone at the top with a 15-5 conference record, a 20-11 overall record. They were atop the Horizon League in the regular season. Got rings for that. And in addition to that, they have now won the conference tournament in a ticket to the NCAA tournament. Something that mid-majors like Oakland and all of those in the Horizon League, it's the crown jewel. Now, it's not to say that the season's over. And it's not to say that you just throw your hands up and say, we're happy with what we got right now. That's not what I'm saying. But for mid-majors where you only get one team in per conference and the tournament decides that ticket puncher, this is the height. This is one of the greater heights that mid-major basketball can see. And the Golden Grizzlies are going to be part of it forever. In history, forevermore. The Golden Grizzlies have made it to the NCAA tournament in 2024. It's the first time Oakland's been there since 2011 in the Summit League days. And Campy has mentioned, in the countless interviews that he's been in, after winning the conference tournament, when going, when switching leagues, and even when going from D2 to D1, a lot tougher than it was expected to be, and to finally now get there and kind of erase those 12 years of not making it. In some people's eyes, erase it. In some people's eyes, it is not enough and will never be satisfied with that. Forgive me, that's radio for one there. But either way, this is such a fantastic achievement. This is something that it goes even beyond the blacktop. It goes beyond the arena. It goes beyond Oakland athletics as a whole. This is something that for the university as a whole, for Oakland University, this is something that is huge. We'll get to the game stuff in a minute, but I want to give it its due color. But you guys know what we do here at WXOU Sports. You know what I've been personally trying to do is to kind of grow the sports atmosphere here on campus. And you've heard it in my numerous senior speeches, one of which I will probably be giving again for this week's show. But my mission here has been to expand the reach of Oakland sports and to kind of regain the hold that it's had over the campus and the interest and the passion that it commands. I've been trying to expand that, especially since after COVID, it hasn't been a whole lot. And I want to kind of extend that invitation to experience Oakland sports to everybody. Well, what better way to do that than to go to the NCAA tournament? What better way to legitimize your athletic program and to legitimize the star players and the historic head coaching? And, what better way to draw people in than by getting to the biggest stage in the sport? One of the biggest stages in the world of sports. The NCAA tournament, March Madness, is that place. There is no better way to draw in interest from not only from locally on your own campus and locally from your own student body, but from around the area, from around the nation. There are so many articles now coming out of people just now discovering the story of Greg Campy. I'm even starting to learn some stories that I haven't known about the program, but they're just now learning about Trey Townsend and why we call him Mr. Oakland. They're just now learning about Greg Campy, the longest tenured head coach in Division I, and the oldest guy in the job coming into this tournament in terms of years with a single program. The world and the country, they're starting to learn stuff that we as Oakland fans almost take for granted. Stuff that we just have known the whole time, the rest of the country is now starting to learn. That it's, to me, as a media guy from Oakland, it's everything. I even got interviewed on WXYZ on Channel 7, and I told their field reporter there, Faraz Javed, I think was his name, great interviewer, that this is everything for campus. This is everything for Oakland sports, and this is everything for the university. And, there is data, there is numbers that say and prove that if, when a school makes the NCAA tournament, especially a mid-major like Oakland, and you finally get your name in front of the whole country in a way you couldn't have before, admissions go up. Straight up, the amount of students that come in and see the university, the amount of everything just seems to just increases due to that popularity, due to that free but also not so free advertising. I've talked to numerous people, Neil Rule and Kevin Beers included, that sports, university sports, college sports are the front porch to the school. They are the first thing that anybody knows about the school. If I were to tell you, and I'm kind of taking a shot at my friend here, but if I were to say, hey, what do you think of Hope College? You don't quite know a whole lot of the sports there. I mean, so naturally, that might not even be a college you ever look at because you've never heard of it. It's over on the west side in Holland. Shout out to Gino, my my Hope College, whatever the hell you are, Anchors or something. But my point is that when you get your name out there and people know about you, they know about you, as opposed to never knowing about you, never looking at your university, and even if you do come here, you never look at the sports. Now you can, and now you will, because we make it to the NCAA tournament. It's just a monumental achievement for Oakland, and it's something that I'm very excited about. I'm recording this. This is Saturday afternoon. Can't wait to see what Selection Sunday will bring to us, and I'll probably be cutting in with a different shirt right now to tell you about the matchup, and when we get it announced Sunday at 6 o'clock. But either way, you guys can tell I'm very happy about it, and you guys can tell that this is something that me, especially as a senior, am very stoked about, very excited about, because me and all of you here, now we're getting into senior speech. I promise we'll get to the game in a little bit. If you're on YouTube, I'll bookmark where we got the actual game story, but right now we're still on the color and starting to get into the senior speech. But for all of us now at Oakland, all of us that went on the bus to Indianapolis to see it with our own eyes, I was part of it. For those of us who watched it in the Habitat, either watched the semifinals game against Cleveland State or watched the championship game against Milwaukee. For those of you who watched it in the Habitat, for those who watched it at home and celebrated it and got on social media and put it up on your story, and all of you guys that have experienced it and have been a part of it in the smallest way, you get to have that forever. That's something that will never be taken away from you. When you went to Oakland University, they went to the NCAA tournament. That is a forever factual statement. And it's a shame that there's a lot of classes that have not had that chance since 2011. I mean, if you think about it, if you were a freshman in 2012, the year right after Oakland made the tournament, you up to your senior year, and then again, like the next people, freshman to senior year, and then again, freshman to senior year, haven't been able to experience that. We as a class, we as all of us at Oakland currently right now are in a special part of Oakland history. By saying that we watched and we supported and we participated in this championship run, this Horizon League championship run. I can't get enough of it, but let's move on to the actual games now. So we'll start, because last time we were here on the show, we were only able to talk about the home game against Purdue Fort Wayne for the quarterfinals. They then went to Indianapolis Monday the 11th to face Cleveland State on ESPNU, as well as on WXOU. We had the call there. Thank you to Harjan and Gavin for making the trip. Thank you to Chelsea in the studio right here making it all happen. But we faced the number 7 seed in Cleveland State for the semifinals round. And I'm going to, from now on, disregard the seeding of our opponents because let me tell you something about this year in the Horizon League. The seeding does not matter. Once, after the quarterfinals, the seeding does not matter. You could even say after the first round, it didn't matter because, when you think about it, it's the top 8 seeds. There were five of the top 8 seeds. We'll say that 5 of those teams have won 20 games. That's a pretty competitive conference to have 5 teams with 20 wins in it. So when we get to the quarterfinals and you got, let's see if I could call it off the top of my head. It was Oakland as the 1 seed, and then Youngstown State, Green Bay, Wright State, Northern Kentucky, Milwaukee, Cleveland State, and Purdue Fort Wayne. I got it. So good at my job. But all of those teams could have won it. Could have won the entire tournament. Could have gone to the NCAA tournament. All of them had the potential to do so. Purdue, I'll even say for Purdue Fort Wayne, maybe the team was a little bit young this year, but they had the nuclear capability to at least knock Oakland off, to at least knock the best team in the Horizon League off, and then who knows what could have happened after that. Because in the quarterfinals round, Oakland was the only home team to win that one. That's the top 4 seeds in the tournament. And 3 of them were upset in their house. That's what brought us the matchup to Cleveland State. They beat Youngstown State on the road, the number 2 seed. So that's my long-winded way of saying that the seeding doesn't matter. All these teams are good. All these teams could have done it. And that means all these games were tough and were close and could have gone any way. So for this matchup against Cleveland State, a little context going into it. Cleveland State has one of the best players in the Horizon League in Tristan Enaruna. He didn't play the game before, but he, for whatever reason, I didn't know, but he was playing against Oakland. And obviously a lot of the defense was going to be focused on him, but they got a first-team All-Horizon League member multiple times over playing against them. And the team is experienced. They were the runner-ups in last year's tournament, and even a couple years ago, or a couple, you could say a few for 3, but 2021 they won the Horizon League and went to March Madness. So this is an experienced team in one way or another. Oakland has not been to this height of the Horizon League in a while. I don't know the full history of it, but it's not often that Oakland even makes it to Indianapolis, and they're facing a team that has done so often. And they're coming off of a big win against, like I mentioned, the 2nd seed in Youngstown State, erasing the insignificance of the seeding. So the way the game went, we watched it up in the Habitat, and I'm pointing at the Habitat here in the studio, but we watched it in the Habitat. Grizz Gang and the OSI, they put together a watch party. I had my hand in making that happen too, but we all watched it together with soda pop and popcorn and with plenty of technical difficulties on the screen, but we all watched it together, and it was a great turnout. And big thanks to everyone who put that together, and big thanks to everyone who was watching it. But we had a good atmosphere going in there, but Oakland started off pretty slow, and that was very concerning, and that was very upsetting for going through all the effort of putting something together like this, and to have Oakland start off being down 7-0 after 5 minutes of play. It wasn't until like 5.5 minutes where Jack Golke made the first points for the Golden Grizzlies by, what else, a 3-pointer. But even before that, it was looking pretty bad because it was missed shots and it was turnovers, and we tried to get Jack cutting underneath the basket for a layup, and that didn't work at all. And it was like, what are we doing? Why are we starting off so slow again? It's something we've seen Oakland do sometimes, but it's like, why? Like, we're starting slow now? It was concerning to start it out, but once Jack Golke broke the seal, got us 3 points, Oakland ended up getting a tie with about 8 minutes left in the first half, 19-19. They had it tied up, and after trading shots going back and forth throughout the whole first half, like it only traded 1 or maybe 2 possessions and trading leads back and forth. But at halftime, it was 38-38, tied up, and there was 20 minutes left to decide who was going to the championship game, who was going to be on the bus going home, and who was going to have their chance to punch their ticket, to get no way closer to punching their ticket. Well, 20 minutes left to decide that. And in that second half, the 3 ball was starting to fall. For Oakland, Jack Golke, in about the first 4 minutes, in about the first, let me say the time, about 6 minutes of the second half, Golke, he made a couple of threes, and DQ got in on it, making those 3-pointers on their way to Oakland, grabbing an 11-point lead with just under 14 to go in the game. Cleveland State, however, was not fazed, and they were not scared, and they were able to fight back. They got the game tied with just under 2 minutes left. 69-69. Damn right, that's nice. But, they were not going away. Cleveland State would not fold in this game here. And with it being tied 69-69 with about 2 minutes left, it was pins and needles in the habitat. And for me, I was trying to throughout the game, I was trying to very, very unjinxingly, very neutrally say, hey, if we win, we'll have a bus to Indy in the possible hypothetical event that Oakland wins this one. Like, I'm trying not to put any evil on the game so far, but it was getting concerning at times, and it was getting like hope, like your mind was just scrambled for this game, because it was really, it's win or go home. It's a tournament. Obviously, I don't need to explain that, but it's just, it had all that juice, and I was going crazy, as well as everybody else in the habitat. But with the game tied the way it was in the last 2 minutes, Oakland was only shooting free throws, and they made enough to win that one with a final score of 74-71. Like, I'm serious. Last like 2 minutes, it was missed shots and free throws for Oakland. That's it. And Oakland did end up winning it, holding strong, winning 74-71. They held Cleveland State to literally only 3 of 16 from beyond the arc. Held them to 18.8% from 3. Oakland, however, was 10 of 31 with 32.3% from beyond the arc. So Oakland made, in the 3-point category, if my math is right, they made 21 more points than Cleveland State did from beyond the arc. And those 21 points, if you just to play with numbers here, was a credit to Jack Golke. He led the Golden Grizzlies in scoring. He made 7 of 14 from beyond the arc that game. And if it weren't for that layup at the very beginning, that would have been his field goal as well. But 50% from 3, 14 attempts at it for 21 points. He had 7 rebounds as well. He had an assist as well. He played 36 minutes as well. He was the star of the show. He made himself known to parts of the nation, parts of the local media here, talking about Jack Golke. There was a graphic on TV that showed his 3-point attempts versus 2-point attempts. It was like 307 to like 20, or to maybe even less than that. I don't even know, but there's a screenshot out there somewhere of that graphic, and people were like, "That is ridiculous." But they don't know. They don't know yet that is traditional Oakland basketball, living and dying by the 3. But country's starting to figure it out, and Golke was the guy that made it happen. 21 points. DQ Cole also doing it as well. 20 points, also 50%. This time from the field, he was 8 of 16 from the field, just 2 of 8 from 3, but with 5 rebounds and 4 assists included. Got a steal and a block as well. He had a pretty gnarly game himself. Trey Townsend, 15 points, 8 rebounds, 4 assists. Didn't have his best game, but was 9 of 11 from the line. Trey Townsend, you can do what you want. You can follow him if you want. But it's not a hack of Trey. It's not a hack of Townsend. He'll make them. And he'll make you pay for that. So there's really... You just have to keep him away from the ball, which is hard to do. But either way, Townsend, he got his 15. to get Oakland the win. Tone Hunter, I do also want to shout out 6 assists during that game. Led the Golden Grizzlies in that, and led the game in assists with 6. So that was just awesome. I do also want to give Cleveland State a couple of shout outs for their stats. Tay Williams was a dog. He had 21 points, 14 rebounds, 2 assists, a steal. He was over 50% from the field on without 3-pointing included. 5 offensive rebounds from him alone. Tate Williams was cooking during that game. And Enaruna got his as well, 14 points, 7 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 blocks, and a steal. Oakland held him to 5 of 15 from the floor, but Cleveland State's a good team, man. They gave us the business. They were literally 3 points away from going back to the championship game. It was nuts, that game. But Oakland advances. They survive and advance to the championship game. Later that night, the matchup was decided to be the Golden Grizzlies and the Milwaukee Panthers. To give some context into this game, I crunched a few numbers here, so forgive me for vomiting math at you. But Milwaukee comes into this game, and I didn't pay too much attention to Milwaukee during this season. We swept them during the regular season, winning in our house in a close one. It was like 100-95. And when we played at their house, it went literally into double overtime. Jack Goldkey made at 2 buzzer beaters to bring it to overtime and bring it to double overtime. He had a career game, or at least a season high game against Milwaukee. But otherwise, I didn't pay too much attention to him. But I later was figuring out as it was leading up to the game that Milwaukee won 8 of their last 9 games, dating all the way back to Valentine's Day. Their only loss was in overtime to Youngstown State. And then, so to kind of piece together here, they won 2 games, they lost to Youngstown State, and then went on a 6-game winning streak coming into the championship game. In that 6-game win streak, Milwaukee was scoring 87 points a game. And their star player, B.J. Freeman, was responsible for 29 of those points on average per game. The Panthers were coming in hot. And it was not even between them and Northern Kentucky, there was no easy matchup for Oakland in that championship game. You were going to get a really tough opponent, no matter how it shook out, whether even Green Bay or Youngstown State made it there. Anybody would be tough, and that's how the Horizon League has been. But they were coming in hot, but it was the Golden Grizzlies coming in to do battle. So in that game, I don't have as much of detailed analysis on the game flow here because I was there in the stands. I was on the bus to Indianapolis, and I was on a different planet, man, in terms of cheering and just getting excited for the game, keeping the crowd motivated, as best I could. It kept at least our student section from getting too down, and I was in a different world here. I wasn't analyzing the game like I was calling it, like Gavin and Harjan were. I can go to WXOU Sports to find their game recaps and their interview with Jack Goldkey after Cleveland State's game, but we got that all on YouTube. We got the full live stream of the game as well. But so go check that out on WXOU Sports. But I don't have as detailed of analysis of this game. But what I do know is that every point, this is the championship game. The winner goes to the tournament. The winner goes dancing. It's everything on the line. And Oakland is trying to basically sweep the Horizon League here, regular season and tournament. And just every point was so important. It was just so crucial, so scratching and clawing. Everything was difficult. The defense by Milwaukee was tough. It was physical down low. It was, everything had just so much weight to it. And with the game being so close, if you messed up for 1 or even 2 possessions in a row, that could be the end of the game. Because there wasn't really many runs by either team in this game. It was just one after another, getting closer to the end of the game. It wasn't streaky at all. The biggest lead in the first half was 6 points. The biggest lead in the second half was 7. It never got beyond a 3-possession game. It was close the entire time. But to get to halftime, Oakland did end up with the lead at the half, up by 4, 37-33. And then the second half belonged to Trey Townsend, belonged to Mr. Oakland, and I'm glad that the nickname is starting to catch on because I wasn't sure if it was like something we were officially crowning him with, but I mean, not to say he didn't deserve it even before this, but like I didn't know if it was an official thing, but the Mr. Oakland is an official thing now. And the second half was his. I counted it up in the play-by-play, going through the stats of the game. In the second half alone, Trey Townsend had 27 points, 7 rebounds, 2 assists, 4 offensive rebounds included in all that. And he made 11 free throws. And I don't want to hear anything about Trey being a whistle merchant, about the points being inflated because of free throws. You must have not watched the game if that's what you think. Let me tell you from someone who did watch the game. Trey was earning those fouls. It was part of the game plan. It was attacking what Milwaukee was giving. And we do have some audio here about kind of the reason for that, but to kind of like zoom out a little bit, we'll get to that audio in a little bit here, but at the end of the game, what I just said was the halftime stats. What the second half stats for Trey: 27, 7, and 2. That's just the second half. In total, he was 38 points, 11 rebounds, and 5 assists. That is a literal historic game in all of college basketball. In a regulation conference tournament game, no player has had 35, 10, and 5 in the last 15 years. That's via Jared Burson on Twitter, at Jared Burson. He says the only player with at least 35, 10, and 5 in a regulation conference tournament game, not just the championship game, all conference tournament game, a lot bigger sample size. Nobody's done it in 15 years. Trey did it with 38, 11, and 5. It was incredible. It was the culmination. It was the Hollywood storybook ending to a magical run for the Golden Grizzlies. For Trey Townsend, predicted first team All-Horizon League, got first team All-Horizon League, was player of the year, ended up being all-tournament team, ended up being tournament MVP. He was cleaning house in terms of the accolades and the awards. It doesn't get much better than that for a player in the conference. He did it all. And you could say what you want about his stats during the regular season, but it wasn't just scoring and it wasn't just rebounding. It was everything. It was points, it's assists, it's rebounds, it's everything. Mr. Oakland does it all. And we have some audio here that I want to share with you guys. Greg Campy, somehow immediately was on the phone with Dan Miller of Fox 2 Sports, talking about the game. Dan Miller had a great conversation with him. We'll play that right here.
Game. Everybody came to the sideline. They were reviewing something, and Jack Golke, who's a great player, and Blake Lampman, who are great players, with the game on the line, it was anybody's game at that time. Jack Golke grabbed me by the chest and said, "It's Trey T's time. The ball goes to Trey." And he pointed, and Blake Lampman pointed, everybody in that hall, the ball goes to Trey. And when the kids are coaches and they're smart enough to know how you win, you win. And that was a moment in time for me. I've never seen anything like that from a group of kids before.
That was said after that happened at a timeout with about 5 minutes left in the game. And like Campy said, it was the team's decision to just feed Trey, to just give it to Trey. And he made it work, man. Put the team on his back, put the school on his back, put the Horizon League on his back. Won the game for the Golden Grizzlies. It's Hollywood, dude. This doesn't happen often. Stories don't end like this often. But they did for Oakland University. To get to the stats of the game here, to close out the basketball segment here, we'll get to baseball and softball shortly. Trey Townsend, like I mentioned, 38 points, 11 rebounds, 5 assists. He was 14 of 18 from the free throw line. I know that sounds like field goal stats. From the free throw line. 14 of 18. He was 12 of 22 from the floor as well. Hit a block and a steal, and that block was the one that ended the game. With Milwaukee in desperation mode. Jack Golke chipped in, made 5 of 12 from beyond the arc for 15 points, 4 rebounds and 2 assists, had 2 steals included. Blake Lampman, he made a couple of threes. He was 3 of 9 from the field, but made all 4 of his free throws. 5 rebounds, 3 assists, 4 blocks, 2 steals with 12 points. Chris Conway, who Trey gave a lot of credit to giving him confidence and being able to shoot because he knows that his roommate is going to clean the boards and put it back in. Chris Conway had 11 points, 10 rebounds, also a double-double. He had 3 blocks as well in the game, 5 of 11 from the field. Made one of his 2 free throws. DQ Cole had 7 assists in the game that led the Golden Grizzlies. Baru had two rebounds. Both were offensive with 2 blocks as well. In total, the Golden Grizzlies had 11 blocks in this game. And it was just a magical. It was a magic carpet ride. It made the 4-hour bus ride a lot nicer. A lot nicer coming home. We literally got back at 3:30 a.m. You guys saw on the GioMoShow preview. I literally was in the parking lot at 3:30 telling you guys my immediate thoughts on the game. It was a freaking magic carpet ride. And, it continues now in the NCAA tournament. And future Giovanni will now tell you about what happened on Selection Sunday and what we're looking at and, what the tournament is going to be looking like now. Hey everybody, Future Giovanni here, and we just got the news from the NCAA as to who Oakland is going to be playing in the opening rounds of the NCAA tournament. They were drawn a 14th seed in the South, and they will face the 3rd seed of Kentucky. Listen, it wasn't going to be easy, and it was never going to be an easy matchup. I don't think there is a matchup that was like, ooh, I hope we get that one. It is all going to be tough, and we got a tough one here. And from doing a quick scouting report, I was just starting to look through Kentucky's, through some of their seasons, who their players are, just trying to get a feel for who they are. And it's a tough team. Kentucky is the 2nd best scoring team in the country. They are, let me pull the stats up for you guys. They are 2nd in the country in points per game as a team. They score on average 89.4 points per game. And yeah, that's quite a bit. Looking at their players, they have 5 guys that average more than 10 points a game. They got Antonio Reeves, who averages 20 per game. And, I'm just again, looking through this, just trying to get a feel for the game, get a feel for the team. But in addition to that, they are a big-ass team, at least from Horizon League standards. I was looking through their roster in terms of height, and their starting 5 consists of 6'6", 6'8", 6'4", 9, 8. For their starting 5, they average 6'7", and that's not even including the 7-footer that they have on their roster that plays a decent amount of minutes per game. Let me find his name. He's from Nigeria. That would be, one moment, That would be Ugana Anienso. Ugana Anienso, 7-foot sophomore from Nigeria. That's a big team, and compared to Oakland, they average 6'5", and their tallest player is 6'9". It's gonna be a tough battle. It's a 3rd seed against a 14th seed. It's going to be that way. But some interesting little nuggets I wanted to give to you guys, just because I'm not trying to be here and be doom and gloom, because I don't believe this matchup to be doom and gloom. So when I was looking at the stats and seeing that they were the second best scoring team in the country, I looked just a couple spots farther down the list, and I saw Wright State also on that list as the 4th scoring team in the country. 65.5 points a game are the Raiders, and we've played them twice. We held Wright State to 60 points in their house. If you remember all the way back to February 10th, I called that game over in the Nutter Center, but we've seen a team that scores on average at that clip. And in addition to that, I mentioned there Antonio Reeves scores 20 points a game, and I was looking, that is 32nd in the nation in points per game. But again, I mean, you look literally just 2 spots down, and 2, 3, 4, and then however many spots down, tied with Antonio Reeves is Noah Reynolds of Green Bay. He's 20 points per game. Right underneath him is Marquez Warwick, 19.9 points per game. Tristan Enaruna, 19.8. Trey Calvin, 19.6. What I'm trying to get at is the best scoring player on Kentucky is right about where the best scoring players are in the Horizon League. Players that we as Oakland have dealt with before on multiple occasions. I'm not saying that way like we crushed all these teams, but we've seen players of this nature before in terms of scoring per game. Yeah, they got multiple guys that can score a lot, but I mean, let's bring it to earth a little bit. Oakland has seen competition like this before. And in addition to that, Oakland, I mean, just to kind of compare things on a national scale, Oakland has 2 of the top 15 3-point shooters in the country in terms of 3-pointers per game. You have Jack Golke, who's 3rd in the nation, who gets just over 3.5 3-pointers per game, and Blake Lampman is 15th with 3.19 3-pointers per game. Golke, I think, is also number 2 in the country in 3 points attempted and made. And so when you have 3-point shooters like that, especially in March, if they get hot, that's nuclear. 3 is bigger than 2. 3 is worth more than 2. So if those 2 guys can get hot, then that's a recipe for upsets in March Madness. And one last piece here, just from my very, very quick scouting report, is that while Kentucky is such a great offensive team, they give up almost 80 points a game. So for me, I like that matchup for Oakland, especially when there's a size difference, because the game is not going to be, it's not going to be, I mean, relatively a struggle and a slugfest to score where it's going to be low scoring. This is going to be a high scoring game. And if Oakland is presented with a defense that is a little bit less than, their offense can get going, and Oakland's defense can, I think, at least hold Kentucky down to a reasonable amount to give Oakland a chance if they keep it close throughout the game here. So I'm digging the matchup here as a very unbiased Oakland media member, very unbiased. But I would say that this smells like an upset to me. This smells like Wildcat barbecue over here. Just saying. So I'm digging the matchup here. That game is going to be Thursday in Pittsburgh, and hoping that I'm going to be getting a chance to get on some kind of bus and head over there. Hopefully Oakland is able to send a bunch of fans over there to Pittsburgh and watch the game. Because listen, man, if you guys saw me at the Horizon League tournament, if you saw me at the championship game, I would like to bring that same energy over to Pittsburgh to see Kentucky. So it's going to be a great game again Thursday night in Pittsburgh against a 3 seed Kentucky Wildcats. So we'll see what happens. I'm smelling an upset here. So we'll throw it back to past Giovanni and then pretty quick now current future Giovanni here, and we'll talk about baseball and softball as they wrapped up their games this weekend too. So before we continue to baseball and softball, I got to tell you about the Blue Ski Mask Show. Tuesdays from 4 to 5, tune in to the ultimate radio show for Detroit football and basketball aficionados. In this thrilling program, Brock Hillig and Kurt Szymanski of the Oakland Post will take you on an exhilarating ride through the world of Detroit Lions and the Detroit Pistons. Get ready for in-depth analysis, player spotlights, game reviews, expert insights, all centered around the NFL and NBA action in the Motor City. Join us and stay connected with the heartbeat of the city sports scene and never miss a beat of the action. Tuesdays from 4 to 5, it's the Blue Ski Mask Show. You can also find it on WXOU Sports on YouTube. And now moving on to baseball, as baseball has been quite busy this past week, playing in 5 games since last time we spoke here on the GioMoShow, 2 of which were at home against Rochester and against Cleary in games that went about the way you expected. Oakland winning against Rochester at home 20-4, and then following up with Cleary 19-6. But then later the weekend, they went to Northern Kentucky to start their Horizon League play. That did not go as well as the previous 2 games, losing all 3 of those games against Northern Kentucky to put Oakland in an early 0-3 hole in conference play. Scores were 8-18 in the first one, 2-6, and then 6-7 in extra innings. So that'll put Oakland baseball at 6-13 on the season, and like I mentioned, 0-3 in conference. They'll be looking forward to traveling to Central Michigan on Wednesday to face the Chippewas, and then they will start Horizon League play at home against the Youngstown State Penguins. It's coming this Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. You can expect WXOU to be there for at least one of those games. We're still deciding the schedule, but be sure to tune into WXOU Sports to get your Oakland baseball. And then before we move on to softball, let me tell you about the Eli Andrews Show, Thursdays at 10 p.m. on WXOU, where we got late night, where the FCC guidelines are lifted and Eli and Andrew take full advantage. Here, hosts Eli Sepulveda and Andrew Deacon ask their guests the wildest questions that they write for each other to ask. That means Eli will ask Andrew's questions, and Andrew will ask Eli's questions, of which they do not know until they are read. So join in on the fun, Thursdays at 10 p.m. right here on WXOU. And we'll wrap things up here. Softball. They also faced at Northern Kentucky over this weekend to start their Horizon League play. This one went a little bit better than it did for baseball, winning the series 2-1 this past Saturday for the doubleheader, and then Sunday, at least today of this recording, earlier this afternoon. First game was a win for Oakland, 7-4 over the Norse, in a game where Oakland, they got the run starting in the top of the first inning with 2 of them, shutting out Northern Kentucky in the following half inning, getting 2 more in the second, and basically being able to keep that lead throughout the game. When you start off 4-1, Oakland was able to keep that going, ending it in a 7-4 win. In that game, looking at the box score here, Reese Ruhlman, 3 at-bats, had a hit and a run with an RBI included. Matty Harrington, 4 at-bats, same deal, a hit, a run, and an RBI. And then Jen Kritzka, 2 at-bats, but got a hit, a run, and 2 RBIs within that to give them the win for the Golden Grizzlies. Second game did not go as planned for Oakland, a low-scoring one. 1-2 is the final score. That's the second part of the doubleheader against the Norse. But then this afternoon, this past Sunday, Oakland was able to pitch a shutout win, winning 3-0 over Northern Kentucky to get the series win to start off Horizon League play on their terms. So in that game, that final game against Northern Kentucky, Reese Ruhlman, 3 at-bats, had a hit and a run, and then Macy Brown pitching in as well, or not pitching, but adding in with 2 at-bats, hitting once, running in another time. But it was Sydney Campbell that was the star player of that last game, as she pitched another shutout after pitching all 7 of those innings, giving up only 5 runs, and ending the game in a dramatic strikeout. That gets her ERA down to 2.01. And Oakland, with that series win over Northern Kentucky, they stand now 9-8 overall with a 2-1 record in conference play. They will be looking forward to playing a couple of in-state rivals, hosting Western Michigan Tuesday at 4 p.m. at the Oakland softball field, and then traveling to Ann Arbor for the Wolverines Wednesday at 4 p.m. And then this weekend, they will be coming home to start their home Horizon League play, as well as they'll face the IUPUI Jaguars this weekend, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Let me make sure. My screenshot got cut off. And it will be a Friday, 3 p.m. first pitch, but then Saturday will be a doubleheader, 1 p.m. and 3:30. And we'll keep you up to date on WXOU Sports as to which games we'll be broadcasting here for you guys on YouTube and on FM. And I want to give one last shout out here. It's something I missed throughout the video here, but swim and dive have been really busy over with the excuse me, let me make sure my acronyms are correct here, but they're in the National Invitational Championship meet, more part of their post-game schedule here, where I've learned a little bits and pieces here and there from our wonderful Ian Allen. He's been kind of my swim insider for what goes on there. But yeah, at the National Invitational Championships, their Instagram has been blowing up with placements and with placements and event wins, and a lot of top 8 finishes, a lot of top 3 finishes for Oakland. I can't go through all of them, but I do want to at least mention that you guys could check out Oakland's Swim and Dives Instagram page to get the plenty amount of results and times, and including relays and individual events, and a little joke going around the women's swim and dive team. Their 400 relay got 1st place in the NIC. Them joking around with the 10th place finish there, making it the 1st place finish. I thought that was funny scrolling through the social media stuff. But yeah, just wanted to make sure I got swim and dive included in the GioMoShow as well, as it's a very important meet, and Oakland seems to be kicking butt over there in the NIC. So with that will wrap up this pre-recorded message, this very long 1-hour pre-recorded message left on your voicemail of the GioMoShow here, your home for Oakland sports and beyond. Look forward to next week, as we'll be back in action. You guys will hear about the results of Oakland's first round, Oakland's men's basketball's first round matchup against Kentucky in the NCAA tournament, and we'll continue with baseball and softball and whatever else happens to come up for Oakland sports that we'll get here on the GioMoShow. So we'll see you Monday at noon on YouTube, on Spreaker. Be sure to like and subscribe. 5-star the podcast. Share it with anyone who needs to listen, who needs to catch up on some of their Oakland sports, whether it's alumni or students or friends. Anyone's welcome to the GioMoShow. So we'll see you Monday at noon.